mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 6 of FX's The Old Man. Let me first start by apologizing for how late I'm getting this video out. Episode 7, the finale, airs tomorrow night and will hit Hulu Friday morning, which is when I watch it. But last Friday was a really packed day for me. I can't remember if that was the day that The Boys finale came out or if that was last week, but I had a whole lot of other stuff going on that day, like personal stuff. Like I had to take my dog to like this fucking heart specialist or some shit. Like it was a crazy jam-packed day of activity. So I had time to watch the episode, but I didn't have time to record this video. And once I actually felt like I had time, enough time had passed that I was just like, okay, let me save it for when I have time or I don't feel like I have to rush. And then by that point, I also wanted to rewatch the episode. Full transparency, I was kind of high when I was watching it the first time, so I'm looking at my notes like I don't remember none of this shit. Like I did, but I didn't. So I'm like, it'd be good to watch it again sober, which I just did, and come here and give you my thoughts. And my thoughts really haven't changed from what I had in my notes from the first watch. This episode just did not work for me. This show has changed dramatically in tone and vibe and just what this show felt like in those first two episodes. It feels like a different show right now. We've now spent two episodes that kind of feel like the main purpose that they've served has been to prolong the season. I feel like you could have went from episode 4 to episode 7, like, well, not literally, but like tomorrow's finale could have been episode 5 with maybe like a little bit that happened in these in what is 5 and 6. A couple of those things sprinkled in, and you would have had a smooth transition and a story that went at a good pace. But these last two episodes have been chock full of like conversations and poor pacing, and it really just felt like it's been dragged out at this point. And the show has become far less gripping than it was in those first two episodes. And it's interesting that they chose to renew this for a second season so quickly, because I'm wondering now how people feel about the show. Like everything I heard was universal praise after those first two, including from myself. But by this point, I don't know, man. I'm not really feeling it at this point. And it's because like this episode in particular, right? We had a whole lot of conversations that took place during traveling. And we've been doing this traveling toward these goals for 2 full episodes now. The goals of Harper and Emily trying to meet with Hamzat, and then Chase trying to get this meeting with Pavlovich. Like this, the Pavlovich thing, I mean, how ridiculously long has this been drawn out when the Pavlovich thing was just meant to be a step toward getting to Hamzat? And that middle step has been dragged out for almost the entirety of the season. Like we get to the Pavlovich meeting only at the very end of this episode, and it doesn't even pan out. Like it doesn't even end up working. And they've been setting this up from like, what was that, like episode 2, where Chase met with that guy Zachary and wanted him to do that investment deal that was meant to kind of like suck up to Pavlovich to open up the gates to ask for that favor. Then the whole storyline with Zoe meeting with Zachary and getting him to do this deal, us not seeing what happened, like that whole thing, the Zachary thing to lead it to the meeting with Pavlovich. And now how many different modes of transportation did Chase and Zoe take on this path to meet Pavlovich? Like this was really drawn out ultimately for it to come to nothing, really. Like we learn about Pavlovich's relationship with Abby, and we obviously learned that Hamzat's lawyer got to him first, but I didn't need 5 episodes of this shit to get to that point. Like that is what has soured me on this season of this show, and on this show as a whole, just because like those first 2 episodes were so gripping, and then it's been kind of just like these long drawn out conversations and paths toward getting to Hamzat, flashbacks, these weird, creepy, ghost-like scenes with dead Abby that virtually none of them seem to make sense or fit in with the rest of the show. Like the one that opened this episode, what the fuck was that? Like that didn't even, like there was like a doll on the ground, and then like he's panicking, and then he sees like the Abby that we've seen in the flashbacks, and I'm like, I don't even understand the point of that scene. Like it had no impact on everything else that happened in the rest of that episode. And if they want us to understand that he's haunted by everything that went down with Emily, we got that shit in episode 1. Like we still don't need this in episode 6. So like this episode really kind of soured me on this show as a whole, because at this point I feel like we've gotten more mediocre content than we've gotten great content from this season. I do expect this finale to be pretty balls to the wall exciting. If they manage to find a way to make this episode boring when we should be setting up Harper and Chase going after Hamzat to save Emily, like we're setting that up. An inevitable conflict with Morgan Boat and Julian, like all of these things that are being something. I feel like Zoe still has a big role to play here as well. You know, if you could set all that interesting stuff up and not pay it off in an interesting way in the finale, this season as a whole is a failure. And I wonder if, like, I don't know if other people are going to look at it that way, and then FX might be like, maybe we don't need a season 2 of this after all, because people got checked out after the first 2-3 episodes. But let me see, what else did I want to talk about here? I have my notes here, and it's like there's just not a lot to cover, because it kind of felt like everything was inconsequential. Like we had a whole scene of Chase kind of like teaching Zoe what it's like to live the life that he lives. And I don't know if that scene is going to pay off or anything like that, but it really, again, that felt just like if Zoe ends up becoming like his sidekick, or we find out that in a twist that Zoe has been kind of like in on this the whole time and she's working against him, then it'd be kind of cool. But otherwise, it just kind of feels like, where is this going? So let's see, where do I want to go? Most of my notes I've already talked about, by the way. We still haven't reached, I guess we will reach Harper. Well, not reaching Emily and Harper meeting with Hamzat. That's fine since Emily got kidnapped. And I talked about that already. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, I touched on this last week, and maybe even the week before that. I'm not sure when it was revealed, but the way Emily has been behaving toward Harper really irritated me last week. And this week, it was kind of more of the same. Not as bad as last week, but just more scenes of her being like unjustifiably indignant and offended. She's constantly like flipping things on him, getting an attitude with him over very valid questions. Like, how do you build a mother-daughter relationship with someone under false pretenses, not letting him know that you are the daughter of his, I don't necessarily say enemy, but at least the person he's going after or has been after. And then once that comes to light and this guy is rightfully upset and has questions and wants answers, that you have the nerve to go, well, I don't understand why you would ask me that. Why are you treating me this? Like that shit, like this gaslighting by Emily is making this character loathsome. Like, I loved the Emily character at the beginning, but ever since who she was came to light, she has been grating on my nerves. And I don't understand how you write a character when you want to write a character that feels realistic and who would do and say things that are real. Like, I don't understand how somebody like that is not apologetic and trying to build a bridge or reconcile. But even if you don't do that, you're like, I just did what I had to do. Whatever. But the last response should be this how do you do that? How do you... That's how she acts toward him. Like, how dare you ask me that? How are you going to have this attitude with me? Like, how do you try to flip it back on him like he did something wrong? And, like, she did that again in this episode. And, like, the Emily character, I am totally done with this character. Like, I just can't get over this. Like, I don't understand how they put this to screen and thought this was a cool way for this person to behave, a person who did something like this. And this speaks to, like, just these stereotypes. Like, I feel like a man wrote this because it fits to, like, a stereotype of a woman. Like she won't accept responsibility for what she's done. She won't apologize. She tries to flip it on him. She has the nerve to get angry at him for being angry with her. Like, these are all very stereotypical portrayals of what a woman is like from a male chauvinistic point of view. I don't understand how we get to this point. And watching Emily these last 2 episodes has been intolerable. That's really all I had. But like the Emily Harper conversation, I think it was like on a train or some shit. There's so many fucking different vehicles and modes of transportation that we see in this episode that I can't even remember who was where. We see a helicopter, we see a boat, we see a train, we see another boat. Like, there's a whole lot of fucking vehicles in this. So we also learned that there were multiple I can get you out of this offers. There was one made to Harper by Morgan Boat, which Emily found out about, where he essentially said, you know, I can get you out of this if you essentially let Emily take the fall in your place. And the other one was an offer made to Zoe, a similar offer by Hamzad's lawyer that was essentially like, I can get you out of this. And both of them turned down their respective offers. You know, I think that speaks to the loyalty of them, but also at the same time, I'm starting to wonder about Zoe. Part of me feels like Zoe has a nefarious side that could be a big reveal in episode 7. We'll see. But they both got made offers and they both turned them down to stick with their respective partners. But the biggest advancement of the plot here is that Morgan Boat's attempt to hurt his sons. We saw that again, like 2-3 episodes ago, where he's talking to Julian. He's like, I want you to hurt my sons. I think that was the end of episode, let me see, this was 6, 5, probably the end of episode 4. And again, here we are now 2 full episodes later, and at the very, very end, the very last scene of episode 6, we finally find out what Morgan Boat meant by hurting his sons. And it is a 2 birds with 1 stone kind of deal. If you hurt Emily, you hurt both of them. So we find out that his plan was to have Julian's homeboy, and Waters take Emily, and that would then, of course, hurt Harper and Chase. And you know, I can understand how that would hurt them because she's a daughter, she's Chase's daughter, and like a daughter to Harper. But good riddance, if you ask me. But I don't know, man. That's really all I got for this episode. I've watched it twice, and my opinions didn't change on it. I thought it was pretty dull, minimal movement. Pacing is at a snail's pace for these last 2 episodes. I feel like we could have threw in a couple of these things into episode 4, and then tomorrow's finale could have been episode 5, and we'd be done. It's wild to think that a 7-episode season is too long, but I feel like that's kind of what we got here. Depending on how episode 7 ends will determine whether or not I'm even in on season 2, because at this point, I'm like, if this is what I can expect, I don't want to watch this anymore. So, we'll see what happens at the finale. I do expect it to be really good, but ultimately, and then also, I don't know what all they can wrap up either if they do have a second season planned. They've got to leave some plot threads open. Like, are they even going to get to Hamzad, or is this going to be a thing where it's like, oh, we have to save Emily from Julian and Waters and Morgan Boat, and they ultimately do that, and they just don't quite get to Hamzad, and they push him to next season? I don't know, but we'll see, and I will see you guys. I can't even say next week. I will see you guys in 2 days. I don't have anything planned for this Friday, so I'll be able to watch it and get the video up on Friday. So I will see you guys in 2 days on Friday for the finale, and until then, peace.